What's going on, guys? It's Tuesday evening. It is time to talk about health and fitness. We are talking about mobility today. Say that 10 times fast. Mobility today. I don't even know if I can say it 3 times fast. We're going to talk about what mobility is and some specifics. I cannot talk today. Some specifics about how you can improve your mobility. Before we do that, as always, I want to remind you to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Make sure you click the bell so you're notified every time I put up a new video, and share this information with somebody you care about, because the more we share, the more we care. Is that like a Care Bear thing or something like that? Or the more we care, the more we share? I don't know. We need a t-shirt for that, right? All right. Tuesday night, we're talking about health and fitness, mobility. What is mobility? I guess that's the first thing we got to talk about. How to improve your mobility. Well, what are we improving? If I'm going to give you some tips on how to improve your mobility, what does that even mean? Okay. When we talk about mobility, most of the time, people immediately think about stretching. That's the first thing that comes to mind when we talk about mobility. And people think, oh, I need to go stretch. Okay. Being mobile, being able to move, right? Okay. That is a part of mobility. Okay. The other part of mobility, and here's the difference. The definition, the way that I define mobility, okay, is the ability, okay, it's 2 parts. The ability to move at full range of motion. That's the stretching part. Okay. The ability to move at full range of motion while producing or resisting force. Okay. So the ability to move at full range of motion, to be flexible, and to be able to apply force or be strong in all those ranges of motion. So no matter what position your body is in, you are able to support yourself and support additional weight, whether it be a cup of water, a kid, a tool, a bag of groceries, whatever it may be. Okay, a pet, who knows? Okay, so mobility is the combination of flexibility and strength. Okay, another way to put that is mobility is stable flexibility. Okay, it's another way to think about it. The ability to put yourself in a position, I'm extending my arm over my head, stabilize that position, whether something's pushing on me or whether I'm pushing on something. Okay, that is mobility. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to improve that. I hope that's fairly, I would hope that that's fairly obvious and why that's important, right? If you can move in all sorts of ranges of motion, that's great. If you can't stabilize yourself or resist or produce force in those positions, you have no safety. You can't do anything in those positions. You can't prevent yourself from getting hurt in any of those positions. Okay? Right? So something to think about. If you are super strong, but you can't get into any ranges of motion, then you're still going to have an injury risk issue, because if you have to get into a position you can't get into, you're going to overstress your body, and then that's going to result in a injury. Okay. So both of these in combination work together to help prevent injury. One type of injury is an injury from being in a position that you're not able to get into, but you need to. Okay. Or something tries to force you into that position and you're not used to being there. Okay. That's where you get hurt when you're working with heavy weights, is when you're trying to do something heavy and you're trying to go into a position with that heavy weight that you're not used to going into, you get hurt. Another one is you're used to getting into all sorts of positions, but you have no strength developed in those positions. Okay. So when you get into a position with no strength, the position itself may be fine, but the weight in that position causes an injury. Okay. 2 sides, same coin. All right. So the number one thing, we're going to talk about the number one thing. Okay. We're going to skip over the whole stretching, and I've got a whole bunch of notes and things. We're going to skip over this because it's actually, I don't know how I did this, but I totally forgot about the most important thing. Okay. Everything that you do in your training should be focused on full range of motion and proper technique. That is the simplest and easiest way to improve your mobility. If you're working in a program that has a variety of movements and you're moving in all 7 essential movements, okay? So you're squatting and lunging and pushing and pulling and twisting and carrying and all of those things, okay? And hinging. If you're doing all of those 7 essential movements and you're getting the variety of all the joints and the way that your body moves, and you're doing all the movements you can in the fullest range of motion you can, or if you, let's say you have a limited range of motion, if you're trying to make that range of motion better, okay, then that is the number one thing you can do to improve your mobility. So that's number one. All your exercises should be focused on improving your mobility, okay? Range of motion. Another way to put it is improve your range of motion and improve it under stress. Okay, that's another way to do it. Weight, resisting force, producing force, all of those things are stimuluses or stresses on the system. Okay, intensity is another word for it. Okay, so being able to move in full range of motion while under stress. So under weight, under speed, under fatigue, whatever it may be, if you can move properly under any circumstance, in any position, you are going to improve your fitness, you're going to improve your safety and reduce your risk of injury. Boom. Whether you're training or in real life. And that's what this is all about, right? Remember, everything we do in the gym, everything we do for fitness is about what we do in real life, not about what we're doing in the gym. We don't want to get hurt in the gym, obviously, but what we're doing is focused on what happens in real life. Okay. All right. So that's number one. Train in full range of motion. Don't half rep things. Don't adjust things and just do half the position. Curls are the best example. If you're going to do a curl, go all the way down and all the way up. Okay. You're not trying to get the optimal, most super contraction, like super bodybuilding technique of this individual strand of this muscle going from the outside to the inside down the middle, right? You're not trying to do that. You're just trying to get better at doing a curl. Okay. So put some weight on there and do a curl all the way out, all the way in. Okay. That's your functional range of motion. That's what we're talking about. Functional range of motion. Okay. All right. That's number one. Number two. Okay. Let's talk about stretching, because stretching is one component of mobility, getting in that range of motion. So if we're talking about how do we get a larger or a better range of motion, one of the things that we want to talk about is there's 2 different ways to stretch. There's active stretching and there's passive stretching. Okay. Stretching. Yeah. My talking today is going to be fun. Active stretching. Okay. There's 2 different types, and there's really 2 good different ways of when you should do them. Okay. So let's talk about active stretching. Active stretching is stretching where you are doing things, basically putting yourself in the position that you're trying to improve. Okay. This is really good when you're starting your workouts. It's good for warming up. Dynamic work, using your body to extend your range of motion. Moving my arm and putting it up, kicking my legs, stretching out myself by pulling my arms apart, squeezing my shoulder blades together and pulling, right? So I'm activating my shoulders. I'm stretching my chest. Okay. It's active. You're activating your sympathetic nervous system. You're activating muscles and telling your body, I need to be able to move in these positions. Okay. If you're doing it with proper technique, then you're reinforcing what we call mechanical efficiency, and you're doing things in such a way that's going to support proper movement and safety in your workout. Okay. So you're telling your nervous system, I'm going to activate all these muscles that I'm trying to use. I'm going to prepare the ranges of motion that I'm about to put weight on, or that I'm about to move quickly, or that I'm about to do a lot of reps, or that I'm about to spend an hour doing in a workout, or whatever it may be. Okay. You're giving your body a heads up. Hey, get ready for this. Okay. What that does, it does a couple of things. It improves the activation in the position so that when you do get there, right? Whatever that position is, pushing something away, pulling something in, spreading something apart. Okay. When you do those exercises and those movements, your muscles are activated now. So you have greater stability and ability to move under control, because it's all about control. Okay. Does that make sense? As always, guys, if I'm talking about stuff and I start getting down into the deep end of things, just ask a question. If I'm not making sense, raise your hand and say, hey, coach, you're not making sense. Okay. So that's basically what we're talking about. Active stretching is where you are putting your body into the positions and trying to get as far into that range of motion as possible. Okay. If you're having a hard time, if this is the range of motion you have to go over your head, then you're working on, I'm trying to get as close as I can to get it a little bit higher. Trying to get as close as I can to get a little bit higher and then bring it down. Right. So you're working, trying to improve that, but you're not using any tools to do it. Just you. Okay. Now you can improve that, and not improve. You can enhance or take that up a little notch by using resistance bands. There's a lot of things you can do with the resistance bands that are a combination of active and passive stretching, which we'll talk about passive in a second. But resistance bands are a great way to improve the strength. So here's one of the reasons why active stretching is so cool. Okay. Because active stretching stretching and the ability to get overhead may not be a limitation of the joint. Okay. This is where it's cool. This is where active stretching helps. Okay. Being able to get overhead for somebody may be a limitation of the strength of the muscles to hold that position. So if I grab their arm and say, okay, put your arm up here, there's no problem. They can get that arm in that position. If I let go, now they're right here because they don't have the muscular strength to hold it in this position. So that's why active stretching, active mobility work is important, because if you work on putting yourself into that position, you're exercising the muscles. You're making the muscles work and working on improving your range of motion, your range of mushrooms. Yeah. Your range of motion by strengthening the supporting muscles and stabilizing muscles for that position. Okay. That's where bands can help. If you're looking for some additional work to work on the strength in that position, you can get some bands. So when I'm going here, not only am I using my arm weight to pull into this position, but I've got a band over here that I'm pulling against to strengthen and hold against the resistance of that band. So I'm actually pulling in. The band isn't pulling me away. I'm actively pulling in away from the band, right? That's making me work to stay in this position. That's different than if the band is pulling me and I'm stretching, right? And it's just stretching a set of muscles. Okay. That's why bands can be used for both active and passive. Okay. So bands are great for active. I love using bands for active mobility work. Okay. So keep that in mind. So active stretching is good for warm-ups. It's good for getting you ready for a workout. And it's good for improving range of motion by building strength and stability in the joints. Okay. Cool. That's number 2. So we got number 1 is always train all your exercises in full range of motion as much as possible. Number 2 is active stretching. Okay. Number 3 is passive stretching. Passive stretching is where you use an object and you relax the musculature, right? Okay. You get your body into the proper position and then you relax the musculature in a isolated area of that joint to try and stretch something specific in that motion, in that movement. Okay. So we'll just say, for instance, in going out like this, right? Going out with my arm out to the side like this. Okay. My pec muscle here, my chest muscle is a limiting factor in being able to go backwards. Okay. So I'm going to make sure I have good shoulder position. Everything is good here. I'm in a good position. And then I'm going to relax here. And I've got, say, a pole, right? And I'm going to push against the pole and stretch. So I'm pulling my body and I'm forcing that muscle to stretch my shoulder through my chest. Okay. So I'm not actually just doing this, right? This, taking my arm and pulling it back as far as I could, would be an active stretch. If there was a pole here, like I'm going to put my hand on the table and keep that here and then just pull I'm not doing anything other than forcing the stretch by creating tension in the joint. Does that make sense? Okay. That's a passive stretch. I'm not actively doing anything to contract any muscles or activate any muscles. I'm actually relaxing muscles and forcing the position to extend. Okay. That's a passive stretch. Okay. Passive stretches are best used at the end of a workout. Okay. So if you're in my program, you'll notice that most of the stretching that we do at the beginning of the workout is dynamic and active. We're doing something. We're moving our body and we're doing things with our body. Okay. And that the cool down and stretch is where we do foam rolling and passive stretching and things like that. Your body is warmed up. You're trying to go from a sympathetic to a parasympathetic nervous system. Okay. Try to get your body into that rest and recover state as opposed to that fight and flight, right? Exercising is fight and flight. We're getting into rest and recover. Okay. Improve your anabolic processes, get things shut down, kind of cool things down. While you're doing that, passive stretching is great because that's where you can extend range of motion. Active stretching helps strengthen and stabilize in whatever range of motion you have, and it can help extend it, okay, by improving your strength and ability to get into a position. Passive stretching focuses on extending range of motion that you don't have. Okay. So when you're looking to get better at squatting, if your squat is limited because you have tight knees, tight hips, bad ankles, whatever it is, and you're trying to get better at your squat, get a deeper squat, do some squats stretches, rocking frog. There's a handful of different things that you can do for squat stretching. Okay. Some ankle stretches, some quad stretches, some hip stretches, forearm to instep, different things like that. Do some of those squats at the end of your stretches at the end of your workout when you're warmed up. And you'll find that you can get deeper into your squat and you can get more out of your stretches at the end of your workout when you're already warmed up. Okay. And you're stretching, specifically stretching, okay, is going to be a lot easier, not easier, more, you're going to see more progress in your stretching when you do it after you've already warmed up as opposed to trying to do it when you're cold. Okay. So that is number 3. Okay. Range of motion for all your training, active stretching, passive stretching. Okay. You need all 3 of those. Okay. Basically it comes down to, it doesn't come down to this. We're going to talk about mechanical efficiency. So there's skeletal structure, muscular structure, and one of the things that we need to think about whenever we're talking about mobility is understanding what the proper positions of our body are when we're supposed to be, when we're doing different movements. Okay. So there's a couple things to remember. Okay. Isolation in range of motion is a key concept to understand. We don't want to just willy-nilly put our body into a bunch of different positions. Okay. Shoulders, core, and hips are the 3 main areas where people miss isolation and extension. Okay. Isolation means securing the main joint before extending an appendage. Okay. So before I put my arm out here, I want to make sure that I get my shoulder blades down and back, right? I get my shoulder locked into place and then I can extend. Then I can push. Then I can raise, right? So the joint position has to be proper first. So something to learn and something to practice. There's a lot of information on my YouTube channels. If you're in the program, you'll see that I talk about in a lot of the videos different positionings and how to do different things as far as what positions your hips or shoulders or knees, stuff like that should be in. That comes with a lot of trial and error. That comes with asking a lot of questions, having a coach, someone there to show you what these things are. Okay. The biggest things to remember. Okay. We'll talk about shoulders, back, and down, right? We don't want to be doing things shrugged. We don't want to be doing things with the shoulders rolled in forward like this, right? Put your shoulders back, put your shoulders down. Pretty much everything starts from here. Whether you're hanging, pushing, pulling, opening, closing, whatever it is, think about back and down for your shoulders. Okay. That's your basic isolated, stabilized position. Okay. For your core, your basic isolated, stabilized position, if you're going to do anything, is rib cage down, abs tight. Okay. Squeeze your butt because your butt is part of your core. Your butt is part of your core. Don't forget that. Okay. Rib cage down, abs tight, squeeze your butt. Okay. That's your basic thing for your core. And for your hips, you want to make sure that you're squeezing your butt and you're pushing your knees out just a little bit. We don't ever want our knees caving in. When our knees are caving in, that's very similar to when our shoulders kind of come forward like this, right? We're not in position. We don't have a lot of stabilization and control here. Shoulders back and down is same as when I say push your knees out. Okay. Don't let your knees come in together. Okay. Those are the three main things to think about. All right. Everything comes from there. So if you're doing any kind of work and you want to focus on improving your range of motion, focus on those things before you start moving your legs and arms and everything else around. Okay. You want to have that stuff isolated when you're doing these things. Okay. So just remember a solid base is a way to think about having these things isolated and stabilized as you extend. Okay. We call it core to extremity, having your core tight, and then you can do things on the outside. Okay. If this is loose, this is going to fall apart. All right. And that's pretty much it, guys. Those are the four main things. I guess we can call it the four main things to think about. Okay. Moving range of motion when you train, active stretching, passive stretching, core to extremity. Make sure you have your core solid. You keep things stabilized and isolated before you do things in extension is what we call it. Okay. If you do that, if you move in proper position, if you take your time and improve your stability and range of motion and move with mechanical efficiency, okay, you're going to improve all your aspects of fitness. Everything's going to get better. You're going to be stronger. You're going to be faster. You're going to use less energy when you do exercises. And in general, you're going to be less prone to get injured. I mean, absolutely. Your recovery is going to be better. The effect of the work you do is going to be more evident, right? Because you're going to start seeing things work better because you're physically performing. The physics, like think about it from a physics perspective. The physics of how you're performing the movement is going to be better. Okay. All right. So that is basically it. We got some questions in the group. So let's go to the chat here. All right. Hey, Coach B and everyone. All right. What's up, Maitreya? What's up, Teresa? What's up, Tanya D? The more you know. Yes, Tanya. Lisa, glad I didn't miss. I'm glad you didn't miss either, Lisa. Animal-based, RDH. Okay, hello. What do you think of protein powders for an active 15-year-old boy? He seems to think he needs it. I'm promoting keto carnivore. First question is, why can't he just eat more meat? Question number one. If he needs more protein, give him more meat. He's 15. A 15-year-old boy doesn't need to be worried about tracking anything. If there's meat in the house, you let that kid eat it. Right? Stock as much eggs and bacon and beef and lamb and chicken, whatever you want. Just stock as much food that is coming from a dead animal as possible and let him eat it. If he can eat that to his full and then he still wants a protein powder, then get some Equip or something like that and have him go to town on that. Absolutely. Hope that answers your question, animal-based. Frugal Madre, Rocking Frog is the best stretch. Rocking Frog and forearm to instep are probably my two favorite stretches. In case anybody doesn't know, go to the YouTube channel, the one that you're on right now watching this, okay? And just search for Rocking Frog. That stretch will fix a whole bunch of issues. If with your lower back issues, hip issues, knee issues, that stretch is a magic stretch, okay? Rocking Frog. Do that stretch multiple times a week and it will change your life. Okay. Lisa, would you suggest foam rolling pre-workout? I see a lot of people in the gym that foam roll before. Sure, if you want to, before or after. Foam rolling is one of those things. You talk to one side of the fence and they say it's worthless. You talk to another side of the fence, they say it's amazing. If you feel like it helps you get ready or helps you recover, then have a blast. Personally, I like doing it as a maintenance thing. So yeah, absolutely go for it. Whatever works best for you. That's absolutely whatever works best for you. I personally think there is some benefit in myofascial release. Basically, it's massaging yourself, right? So if you like getting massage, then you'll like foam rolling. It's the same thing. Let's see. What core exercises are safe without putting too much pressure on a broken foot? Tanya, I thought your foot was all better. I saw your thing saying your foot was all better. It's getting better. It's not all better yet. Okay. Core exercises that are safe. Anything that you're laying on your back. Okay. There's a ton of different exercises you can do laying on your back. Go to the channel and do a search for hollow rocks, dead bugs. Those probably be the two biggest ones, hollow rocks and dead bugs. Both of those come with modifications that you can do. Crunches are good. Sit-ups. I mean, there's anything that you're doing on your back is good. On the flip side, because remember, our core is front side and back side and sides as well. It's our whole torso, 360. Okay. You can do Supermans. You can do things laying on your stomach. So anything where you're laying down, you can lay down in your stomach and do Supermans. You can lay down on your back and do hollow rocks. So there's plenty of things you can do. You can do flips, right? So there's Superman hollow rock rollovers, right? Where you lay down on your stomach, you do some Supermans, you stop, you roll to your back, you do some hollow rocks, you roll to your stomach, you do some Supermans, you roll to your back, you do some hollow rocks. Okay. Cool. Let's see. Losing range of motion in my shoulder 8 weeks ago after strength training, stretching is now back. Yes, I like that. Right? It's crazy, guys. If you haven't heard me say this, muscle solves a lot of problems. Okay, muscle solves a lot of problems. Tanya, I have a broken fibula and a torn ankle ligament. Oh my gosh. Planking on your knees, yeah, you can do that for sure. All right. It's a little easier because you don't have your full body extension. But Juju B, I would try doing the hollow rock Superman thing. That'll get you. And it's a little bit more focused. You might find that to be challenging. I'll just say that. We'll need to catch up full video. What's up, Roz? 3 weeks in recovery and another 3 minimum. All right, 3 to go. Cool. Animal based. Thank you for your response. My son heard you. All right, sweet. Go eat some meat, dude. Lisa, yes. Hollow Rock Superman Tabata is a killer. Oh my goodness. All right, guys. That's all we got for today. If anybody has any other questions, please comment on the video and I'll respond. If you're not in the Facebook group, join the Facebook group, Ultimate Ketogenic Fitness. And don't forget, the book is coming out on May 6th. It's officially launching. May 6th. Okay. Check it out. See ya.